Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and hi everyone. Welcome back to another episode of CHE'GU BINCANG. I am Hanis Madiha, your host for this episode, and today we are going to have a very interesting discussion about Islamic studies at university, balancing faith and academic life. Joining us today, our very special guest, Associate Professor Dr. Halim Ismail from the Department of Curriculum and Instruction. Assalamualaikum, Doctor. How are you?
Waalaikumsalam. Fine, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, and thank you sincerely for taking the time to join us on today's podcast. To begin, would you kindly share a little bit about yourself with our audience?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So thank you very much, Sister Madiha. I am Associate Professor Dr. Halim Ismail. Now I am teaching the Islamic education subject, and I'm now the head of department of the Department of Curriculum and Instruction.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for that lovely introduction. It is truly a pleasure to have someone with your background and experience with us today. I am confident that our listeners will gain valuable insight from what you will be sharing throughout this podcast. Now, let us start with today's topic. As we know, studying Islam at university gives students a great chance to learn more about their faith while also gaining academic knowledge. However, managing both religious and academic responsibilities can sometimes be challenging. In this episode, we will talk about how students can balance their Islamic values with their studies. We will also look at how learning can be part of worship and how students can stay connected to their faith while doing well in their academic life. So let us begin our discussion. May I ask the first question, Doctor?
Yes, of course.
Okay, the first question, how would you define Islamic education in the context of today's academic environment?
So thank you very much, Sister. So when we look at the Islamic education at the context of today's academic environment, so it's very important for us to understand that actually the Islamic education is the holistic concept, okay, that teaching and learning that integrates between the religious knowledge and also the rational knowledge, or we call it as the akli. So it's very important to integrate between the religious knowledge, which is the ilmu naqli, to the rational knowledge, which is the ilmu akli. And defining Islamic education as well, it should rooted in the Quran and Sunnah, because the Quran and Sunnah is the profound foundation for the Islamic education, which the objective of the Islamic education is to develop the individuals who are balanced in terms of the spiritual, moral, intellectual, and also physical, which is stated in the national education philosophy, as well as in the falsafah pendidikan Islam, or the philosophy of the Islamic education. And when we look at contextualizing today's higher education environment, okay, it's very important for the universities to understand that the Islamic education not only limited to the study of the theology or the Sharia only, but however it also involves the incorporating the Islamic values, the worldviews into the various disciplines, such as the ethics in the sciences, the Islamic economies, and also the Islamic management, as well as the Islamic education. So it's also very important when we talk about the higher education with regards to the Islamic education to also emphasize to the creative and critical thinking, because we are moving towards the 21st century teaching and learning. At the same time, it must also embed the adab and akhlaq and etiquette as the main foundation for the education nowadays. So when we look at the dual goals in the university setting, which is the academic excellence and also in terms of the faith integration or adab, so very important for the students to understood that the integration of the Islamic studies and also the education that relate to the academic excellence is very crucial for now.
Okay. Thank you, Doctor. That was a very clear explanation of what Islamic education means nowadays. Okay, next we move to the second question. How can students remind themselves that learning is an act of worship in their daily academic life?
Okay, thank you, sister. So, understanding the concept learning as ibadah is very important, because in Islam, every permissible action with the right intention or the good niyyah is considered becomes an act of worship. As Rasulullah mentioned, "Talabul alma faridatun ala kulli muslimin," meaning that the seeking for knowledge is obligation for every Muslim. So, seeking knowledge considered as the part of worship. And the importance for the students to remind themselves, firstly, they have to have the good niyyah, of the good intention. Okay, Rasulullah said, "Innamal a'malu binniyat," meaning that every practices that students do every day is considered as the based on their niyyah. So they must have a good niyyah, or the good intention for what they are learning every day. So they must put to get the pleasure of Allah is the most important goals of their daily activities. Other than that, students must also remind themselves to also relate with the dua and zikr for everyday life. For example, the starting the teaching or learning session by having dua, for example, Rabbi zidni alma or Rabbi shrah li sadri, because it is very important for them to start with the good deeds, and also to start with the Bismillah before starting the class. Other than that, students also must be reminded to have the good adab, or good etiquette when learning, because this is the things that are taught by our Prophet, and to gain the barakah from Allah. So students must relate their everyday activities with the relation with God, relation with Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala, and at the same time, students must also avoid themselves from doing something that are prohibited from the Islamic perspective. For example, do the cheating, arrogance, and also harmful competition. So, to remind the students, very important for them to have the conscious efforts to align their academic life with the spiritual goal, as I mentioned, and to avoid anything that can make them far away from Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. For example, having the discipline issues and other discipline behavior, okay, that can get them rid from the barakah of Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala.
Okay. That is a very thoughtful opinion, Doctor. When
Okay.
students see learning as worship, it helps them stay focused and motivated in both their faith and studies. It shows how closely faith and education are connected. Alright, Dr. Halim, we have just wrapped up 2 questions. So let's take a quick 3-minute break before we continue. And to our audience on YouTube, don't go anywhere. We will be right back with more interesting sharing in just a moment. Okay, continue with the third question. How do you think preserving a strong relationship with Allah and others impacts students' academic life?
Okay, thank you, sister. Okay, so by preserving a strong relationship with Allah and others, which is among humans, can very impactful to the students' academic life. Firstly is the impact of the strong relation with Allah, or we call it as the hablu min Allah. So students must have the strong relation with Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. Firstly, by having the strong relation with Allah, they can have the inner peace, or the calmness, and also the mental strength, because by having the regular worship, like performing the salah and then recite the Quran and do the dua, can bring the tranquility and also can bring the calmness to the students. At the same time, it can also reduce the anxiety, the mental health issues, and also gives the students clarity during answering the question in the examinations. So that is very important, to have the strong relation with Allah, and it also make the students become more purposeful and also motivation in their daily life, because by having the strong relation with Allah, they will have the strong connection and also bonding with Allah that can help them to have the better purpose of their studies, and they will put the great objective, which is not only to secure the great jobs or the high CGPA, but also to gain the mardatillah, okay, to serve the nation, to serve the ummah. As we know that in our university, we emphasize on the rahmatan lil alamin, meaning that the students can contribute to others, meaning the niyyah or the purpose of the study is not only for the purpose of the dunya, to get a job, but however also to give, to benefit the society. And also, by having the strong relation with Allah, the students can have a self-discipline and also time management in their daily life. And with regards to the impact of the strong relation with human or with others, or we call it as the hablum minan nas, okay, the students can become the very supportive community. They can contribute to the community, as I mentioned, and also can give them confidence, okay, so they didn't involve in any mental health issues. And it also can help them to shape their character building. So by having the good relation with others based from the Islamic principles, okay, it can also develop the character among the students. So it's very important for students when we talk about the have a relation with Allah and with others, to have the both spiritual, emotional, physical, and also intellectual relation.
Okay, absolutely. Those are very meaningful answer from Doctor.
Yes.
Okay, lastly, we move to the last question, Doctor. What advice do you have for students balancing their religious and academic commitments?
Okay, for me as a lecturer and also as the head of department for this kuliah, okay, I have several advice for the students for balancing with their religious and also academic commitments. Okay, in this kuliah, firstly, the students must begin with the right mindset or the right niyyah. As I mentioned, students must understand that religion and academic is very important, and it didn't conflict with each other. So the religion or the Islam and also the academics are complement each others, and the approach must be based from the right intention. Okay, right intention by understanding that everything that they do every day is based on the is become an ibadah if they put it at the right intention. And also the students must also manage their time effectively. Okay, prioritize the things first, and then to organize their time well. And otherwise, the students must also integrate faith into their academic life, and they must not be able to stay away from religion, because it's very important for them to have the religion as the first part. And then the students, I also advise to avoid the burnout and also to maintain balance, especially during the submission, during the examination, and that's why the students must have a good relation with Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. And also among their friends, okay, I advise students to have the good friends that have a good circle and surround the student with the peers that always remind Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. Then, and also must avoid the friends that can bring them to the negative circle. And it's also very important for the students to rely on Allah, or we call it as a tawakkal, after they have put a lot of effort for them to become success in their exam, to score the great CGPAs and put their effort. Okay, don't forget to pray to Allah and do the tawakkal to Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. So as my last advice, okay, students, especially for this kuliah, for this university, they are not only students, but actually they are the ambassador of Islam. Okay, they bring the image of Islam, of the Muslim, to the entire world. So put in mind that there are a lot of responsibilities for the student to fulfill, but at the same time they must be conscious that everything is for them to fulfill based from the Islamic perspective. I think that's all.
Okay, I believe those are very useful tips that we can get from Dr. Advice. Many students will definitely feel more confident and supported after hearing that. So before we wrap up to this episode, let's take a quick look at what we have talked about. First, we explore what Islamic education means in today's university setting. Then we also talk about how students can remind themselves that learning is actually a form of worship, which help them stay focused and motivated in their studies. After that, we discuss how keeping a strong connection with Allah and with others can support students with emotionally and spiritually, helping them stay strong and succeed. And lastly, Doctor also shared with us some great tips on how students can manage both their religious duties and academic responsibilities in a balanced way. Ultimately, balanced faith and academic life may not always be easy, but with the right mindset, support, and effort, it can be done. I think that brings us to the end of our discussion for today on this Cikgu Bincang. Once again, thank you so much, Doctor,
Okay,
for
welcome.
sharing such an insightful discussion with us. I hope our audience gained something valuable from today's topic. Don't forget to follow our podcast Cikgu Bincang for more inspiring and meaningful conversation. Until next time, I am Hanis Madiha, your host for today. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hashtag, hashtag great teachers inspire.
Okay.